The Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm pleased to speak to Bill C-44, the Helping Families in Need Act, which delivers on several of our commitments to support Canadian families as we seek to help them balance work and family responsibilities. This legislation supports parents of murdered and missing children and parents of critically ill children. It also provides enhanced access to EI sickness benefits for parents who fall ill while receiving EI parental benefits. The amendments proposed in the Helping Families in Need Act will allow us to offer new support measures to Canadian families at a time when they need it the most. For parents, it means they won't have to quit their jobs to care for critically ill children. For employers, it means retaining valued employees who have otherwise would have had to give up their jobs to care for a child who is critically ill. And for children, it means they can have their parents at their side during the most difficult times that they'll ever face in their lives. Mr. Speaker, children who are critically ill require not only ongoing care, but they need the love and emotional support of their parents during this time of need. I am extremely pleased to see our government taking action to help the parents of critically ill children. In fact, since I was first elected in 2004, one of my first orders of business was to table a motion calling for just this kind of support. Mr. Speaker, when I was before politics and after I first got elected, our neighbors had a son, Jonathan Watson, who was terminally ill with neoblastoma. And we got to witness firsthand his courageous battle, his tremendous spirit, and how he was just so loved, not only by his family, but by our entire community of Toulon. They farmed just down the road from us, and it was an incredible hardship on them to deal with all the emotional stress and dealing with their son, who for 7 years fought this terrible disease that he finally succumbed to. You know, Brenda, his mother, had to give up her job to be with him full time. His dad had to take on 2 jobs just to support the family. They did quite a bit of the surgery and care down in the U.S. Because the surgeries were just not available in Canada. And it was just an incredible toll on the entire family, a family that are very dear friends of ours. Jonathan, you know, wanted to raise awareness of the battle that he was going through. His parents, Ken and Brenda, wanted to raise awareness of their struggle using the Candlelighters organization, which just gave them a lot of support, along with the tremendous support they got from the community. There's fundraising events that took place. There's charitable giving, because we knew of the financial hardship that they were going through. And we also witnessed them having to pretty much end their farming careers because they just couldn't afford to put the time into 2 jobs and the farm while having Jonathan deal with his reoccurring illness that finally got the better of him. One of the things that Jonathan did that I was able to participate in a little bit is twice he participated in a car push. He was the driver of the car, as a couple of strong men pushed a car for an entire weekend, ongoing, to break the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest car push. And it was something that it was a fundraising to raise awareness, as well as to raise support for medical research for children's diseases. But it was something that he was incredibly proud of, and all of us were quite proud for his participation in it. And it was his idea, and he was able to get involved with a couple of great big guys and do it over a weekend. You know, I introduced this motion back in November of 2005, and it said, Motion 309, that in the opinion of the House, the government should provide income support payments, expand parental leave and tax relief to parents, legal guardians or family members leaving work to provide home care to critically and terminally ill children requiring full-time palliative care as certified in a letter from a medical practitioner. I called that Jonathan's bill, and I was quite pleased in the following Parliament that my seatmate, the member from Leeds-Grenville, brought forward Bill C-44 in the 39th and 40th Parliaments, and again in this Parliament, Bill C-370, that also called for the exact same type of supports for families dealing with children that are critically and terminally ill, and making sure that we have the EI support, that we have the other types of employment protection reforms in place, and that he carried the ball on that in the Parliaments after I originally tabled this motion, and something that I'm very proud of him for doing. He worked very closely with Shannon Rudy of Kempville, who is a constituent of his, and she's worked tirelessly on this issue, and I want to congratulate both of them. Now, parents of critically ill children face difficult choices. In addition to the emotional and physical stress of caring for a critically ill child, many parents must choose between continuing to work to support their family or incurring the financial hardship if they temporarily leave work to care for their child. Are living parents willing to take leave from their jobs in order to be with their ill children? Of course they are. Should these parents be involved with as much support as possible so they are not penalized for being with their families in time of need? Well, I believe that most members in this House would believe that is true, and I hope all parties would support that, and all members would have the same realization as we do on this side of the House. Indeed, in a 2006 study of EI compassionate care benefits, it was found that parents with children receiving creative treatments such as chemotherapy or having major surgery are likely to quit their jobs to be with their child regardless of the prognosis. And I think all of us as parents would do the same thing. We know that between 40 and 63% of families who have children with cancer lose income because they work less while they care for their sick child. Loss of income and out-of-pocket expenses for travel accommodation and payment for medical supplies for these families can account for nearly 25% of their total disposable income. And I mentioned with the Watson that was even higher than that because they had to go to the United States for the care and treatment and the surgeries for neoblastoma on Jonathan. Our government wants to ensure that these parents don't suffer undue financial hardship any longer, and that we support them and their families during these difficult times. That's why we've created this new EI benefit that will provide temporary income support for eligible claimants who take leave from work to provide care to support their critically ill child. These measures will be available to parents of a critically ill child under the age of 18 and will provide support for up to 35 weeks. As I said before, we're also going to amend the Canadian Labour Code to allow for unpaid leave for employees under federal jurisdiction to ensure that their jobs are protected while they take time off to care for a critically ill child. Mr. Speaker, these changes are not simply worth doing, they are the right thing to do to support Canadian families. I'm pleased to hear that the NDP and the Liberals will be supporting this bill. The families that this legislation supports need this help as soon as possible. I know it's too late for the Watsons, but in talking to Brenda and to Ken, they want to see that this help is there for families who are going through the same experience that they went through just back in 2005 and the 7 years previous to that. One of the areas that has not received much attention from previous governments is supporting families who have been negatively impacted by crime. This is perplexing, as this is quite possibly one of the most difficult experiences a parent could ever go through, the loss or disappearance of a child as a result of a criminal act. This is why parents who work for a federally regulated employer who take a leave of absence from work to cope with such circumstances will also receive job protection under this legislation. We'll also be providing financial help to parents through the new federal income support for parents of murdered or missing children. This grant is expected to be available as early as January 1st of next year, 2013. Another portion of this act will have a significant economic and labor impact, Mr. Speaker, is enhancing the access to EI sickness benefits. Under this bill, the EI Act will be amended to allow parents access EI sickness benefits if they fall ill during the time they are on EI parental leave. So if you have a parent that is already on parental leave to care for a newborn and then fall ill, say with cancer or something that's going to take them out of the workforce for a lengthy period of time, they can still access those EI sickness benefits after the parental leave. Mr. Speaker, these combined initiatives that our government is proposing in the Helping Families in Need Act are just some of the actions taken by our government to help Canadian parents balance work and family responsibilities. This bill is in addition to the measures we've already brought in, such as expanding eligibility for compassionate care, allowing the self-employed to opt into the EI program to access maternity, parental sickness, and compassionate care benefits, and improve access to EI parental benefits for military families. The initiatives in this bill, Mr. Speaker, underscore our government's commitment to support Canadian families and help them through the times when they are most in need. I want to thank the Prime Minister for originally introducing this bill and talking about it, the Minister of Human Resources Skills Development for bringing it to the House, and as I said, the Member of Parliament for Leeds Grenville, and of course the families and the non-government agencies like Candlelighters who have been promoting and lobbying for these changes for so long, and families like the Watsons and the Rudys who have been affected by these unfortunate instances, as the member from Brant has with his own family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Burnaby Douglas.
Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate the member on his speech. I just had a question. This is a kind of bill that's a minor change for government, but has great impacts on families. It doesn't look like tens of thousands, but a few thousand families will be affected here. I had a constituent in my office who is on long-term disability, will never work again, but he's having EI deductions off of his pension or his disability checks, and $27 a month is coming off his check. It's cutting into his food budget. I was just wondering if the government would be open to other minor changes like this. For example, fixing this problem with EI deductions from disability claims. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk-Interlake.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for his question. And it's a good question that he should actually raise with the minister directly and talk to her about the concerns that he has, and similar concerns that I've had expressed in my constituency office as well. And is one that people sometimes wonder about why those deductions are made, and sometimes it requires changes to the Income Tax Act as much as other legislation to see those deductions negated if they're not going to qualify in the future. But, you know, on this act itself, on Bill C-44, you know, you've got to remember that this is about helping those families in need that are dealing with some of the most difficult times in their lives, watching their loved ones, their children, deal with very serious illnesses and injuries, often that are terminal, and there is going to be no recourse for them. That's why it's important to also remember those families that after those situations take place, that they continue on. I know that in the Watson's case, they've established in my hometown the Jonathan Watson Memorial Bonspiel, which is going to be taking place in the next month. And that Memorial Bonspiel is a charity that raises funds to support health care and research for children and children's diseases. And I think it's something that I'm going to encourage everyone to participate not only in those types of fundraising events that we have in our riding, but events like that right across the country.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Okanagan-Coquihalla.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech. I was actually in Vancouver when the Prime Minister announced this, and got great feedback from my riding of Okanagan-Coquihalla on the issue. The previous member had asked a question of him in regards to how many people this would help. I just would like to go down on the record if the member could let us know how many families that this particular piece of legislation would affect each year, and as well as he did mention the importance of helping out families. I know the member spoke passionately about that we need to continue to support families. If he could maybe give us his comments on the importance of helping out people who have whose children have gone missing, possibly because of criminal acts, and how this would support them. I appreciate again all the comments here today, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk-Interlake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for the question. And just was informed that it's going to be over 6,000 families are going to see a benefit from this on an annual basis. It's something that is, you know, it's fairly significant when you look at how many families are having to deal with this, and how many families have actually been falling through the cracks over previous governments. So it is important that we are finally addressing it, that these thousands of families across Canada will have access to this type of support. And again, I just applaud the government for introducing this legislation, to bringing it forward and allowing us as members of Parliament to bring forward some of these difficult stories that we have personally experienced, and sharing that with other Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.